I, 28F, come from a very dysfunctional and toxic family. I'm no contact with one of my sisters, 27F. I'll call her Sara, and have been for years. There is no repairing the relationship, and trust me when I say that's for good reason. My mother, 53F, is also extremely toxic, so I keep strict boundaries and only speak to her on my terms. Despite me wanting nothing to do with Sara, my mom constantly updates me on her life. I hate gossip and drama. I don't even use social media. And I've told my mother repeatedly that I don't want updates. But she ignores that. The part that has bothered me for years is that my sister works as a nurse at the county jail, and she constantly shares private inmate information with my mom. Stuff she could only know from her job as their nurse. My mom then repeats all of it to me, even though I never ask and don't want to know. Examples. She tells my mom when specific people are booked in and when they have blood draws done, even before they are fully processed in the system, before the info is made public. She has told my mom about conversations she's had with inmates during their specific medical procedures, which she describes in detail. She's shared details about inmates' cases and all of their personal history. For one individual, she even shared back to over 20 years of work history for him and that he used to work at the Department of Corrections and that's why they never sent him to prison for the sex offenses and why they kept everything hush-hush. One of the most disturbing examples though was when my mom told me not to go to a specific coffee shop because the guy who works there has AIDS. I asked how she knew. She tried to say, "I just know," but I called it out and asked, "Did Sara tell you?" She admitted yes and then described the guy in detail. I told her that was deeply messed up. Not just immoral but illegal. And that my sister was stupid for sharing this information to begin with. And that she, my mom, was even stupider and making it worse for my sister by spreading it. Every time, I tell my mom it's wrong and that Sara is violating people's rights big time. But I never report anything because I hate drama and I don't want to poke my nose in anyone else's business. Especially my sister. So I just move on, because I genuinely hate drama and want no part of their chaos, or my sister's life. I figure karma always catches up anyways. Now for what happened today. A little less than 2 weeks ago, I lost someone, 53F, incredibly close to me. Someone who was like a second parent. I'll call her my other parent. She was in my life since I was 14. Half my life. She passed away unexpectedly in her sleep. I did not tell my mom because I knew she would twist it, victimize herself, or say awful things. There was just no point. I should note that my mom has been diagnosed with bipolar I, and refuses to take medication anymore. She also claims she doesn't have borderline personality disorder, but I think she just refuses to admit that. She's the poster child of it. Everyone close to her agrees with this. Today, I mentioned I was coming to town for the funeral and casually mentioned the loss. My mother immediately went off, calling my other parent a piece of shit I won't miss, a drunken whore, and saying she was disgusted I'd ever referred to her as a second parent. My mother only ever met her a few times. She literally knows nothing about her. Despite that, I stayed calm and respectful but definitely defended the woman who loved me selflessly and genuinely when my mother wouldn't. I should add a little bit of context for how my mom used to treat me. She calls it tough love, but I think it's more of a, "you hurt me so I hurt you," spiteful kind of retaliation thing. For example, growing up, she repeatedly called the police on me to get me arrested. She succeeded a few times. She would go out of her way, too. For example, she once took my purse to the police station, like literally walked it in there, and said it had drugs in it. It did, and I was arrested. Which I don't blame her. I shouldn't have been breaking the law, so that's on me. When I was 18, she had me formally trespassed from the family home and evicted. Literally served eviction papers by the sheriff's office. At my family home, I was homeless on a bench with my dog for a week before I was able to get a hold of the woman who just passed away. I didn't have a phone either. Like the good mother she had always been to me, she moved me in with her, got me a bunch of clothes, a bed, and everything else. It's important to note that she was extremely bad off financially. She had absolutely nothing, but she went above and beyond to come up with money to make sure I was taken care of and had everything I needed. Compared to my mom who, through my dad, was upper middle class. My mom did the same kind of stuff to my brothers too. She literally called the cops so much to come search their car for weed. It got to the point the police eventually would come, stand there, and look at her and straight up refuse because she abused it so much. But those are just a few of many examples of the deliberate, out-of-her-way kind of things she'd do to get us in trouble, to help us learn a lesson, and teach us accountability. So, yeah, my mother has a long history of doing twisted things to some of my siblings and me, and justifying it as tough love. But the point with all that is, my mom was a very big believer about the whole being accountable, and teaching us lessons the hard way. At least that's how she justifies her behavior. She states, to this day, how it was so hard for her to make those decisions, and do that to her own children, but how she doesn't regret it because it's what made us successful today. Anyways, I tend to view these freak-outs with her as basically talking to a mentally ill person. My brother and I came to that realization long ago. That's the only way we can handle it. So I was just going to ignore her and go about my life. But that's when she crossed a line. She sent a text that said she knew about the fact my other parent had passed as soon as it happened, and that if my other parent meant so much to me, I should have been the one taking care of her, so her son's name wasn't the one who had to find her dead. That literally made my blood run cold. Because she had no way of knowing who found her. At all. That information wasn't public. When it was shared with only a very select few people. The death is still under investigation. We don't even have the toxicology report. There is only one person who could have told my mom anything that soon, or known details about the case. She crossed a line. Not only did she blast personal information about someone I love like that, but she knew about her passing the entire time and never even bothered to check in on me. I stayed calm and replied back to her that I am thankful for her, and all the things I've learned from her. Especially the one lesson that made the biggest impact on my life. That accountability matters. When someone breaks the law, you have to report it. Because that's how people learn. Accountability matters more than anything and will make a difference in the long run. Even when it's hard, you have to do it and report people you love. I said that HIPAA is federal law, and that Sara keeps violating it by sharing protected, confidential information. And that I was not doing her any favors by keeping quiet about it anymore. That I need to keep Sara accountable and do the right thing. My mom insulted me and said my logic was bad, but I didn't respond. Because I was too busy filing a HIPAA complaint with every single incident documented in great detail. But here's why I'm torn. I don't talk to my sister, but I also don't wish harm on her. Part of me feels guilty because if they take this seriously, this report could ruin her career. And I feel kind of guilty about reporting her because I only did it now because of how emotional and angry the situation made me. Not purely because it was the right thing to do. I'm a firm believer of live and let live, and that karma always works things out on its own, and there is absolutely no justification trying to make it happen sooner. So I just feel really grimy about the entire thing. But at the same time, she really has been violating HIPAA for years, and still is. Innocent people's medical information and personal business has been spread around town. She clearly does not care about confidentiality. I didn't lie about anything I said in the report. It was literally all the truth. Realistically though, I don't know if anything will come from it. She constantly brags that all the deputies protect her, and won't let anything bad happen to her. And her husband is a sheriff too with the sheriff's department. So I mean, realistically, I bet nothing happens, and my complaint doesn't even get taken seriously. And I guess all this worrying was for nothing. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I guess 50-50. Part of me does want it to happen, but part of me doesn't. But I hate drama. I never interfere in anyone's life. But I feel like this crossed so many lines that I genuinely feel morally torn. I hate to admit it, but I think I let my emotions get the best of me on this one. So, AITA, am I in the wrong?